Hello and good morning, Hearth Spacers and members of the Megan Rose community. It is Monday, the 11th of July. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham. I am your host for today, bringing you insight and inspiration to help you to flow with your personal weird and to connect with what's available, the energies that are available through our collective weird, through looking at the planetary movements. We have a few this week. Apologies that I started about 3 minutes late. My internet went down, but it seems to be fine, so I hope that it will be okay, and that you can hear me and that we don't have any disruption. So what we're going to be doing is I will go through the planetary movements and then I'll be looking at your runes of the week. And just to say, we have agreed, because we've got more and more people coming live now, which is lovely. Really, really pleased to have you all. But we will only be doing one rune. So if you have drawn more than one rune, you are going to need to pick which one you would like me to do your reading for, just so that we can have fairness and everybody can get a go and I don't get confused by lots and lots of rune names together. So the theme that has come through for this week, because we've got a lot of planetary movements, but it's very much about connecting with your vision. We've talked quite a lot about sovereignty, about holding on to your sense of what you want to achieve in the world, what you're here to do, taking a journey, through the darkness to find that light and then bring it up into the world. And this week, what's coming through very strongly is that sense of the practical actions that you can take, like small practical actions that you can take that help you to bring that world, that reality, that place that you see. For a lot of people, a green world, a place where there is peace, a place where we are creating together, a place where science and spirituality are working together, a place where there is fairness and equality. Whatever it is that calls to you, how are you able to bring that forward just one step through this week? And that might be through an action, but it might also just be about, how do I embody that? How do I connect with that every day? I was talking to a group this morning, and we were talking about the way in which often when we sow seeds, we start with that manifestation piece, that feeling into it, visioning it, creating your vision board, closing your eyes, seeing that future as clearly as you possibly can, and then looking at, what's the first step that I can take towards that. So it could be that through this week, it is that manifesting piece. It's that bringing that a bit stronger. And certainly you've got Frigg's Chariot in Dargaz is coming through. We've got our full moon in Iwaz coming through, really helping us. We've got Suna's Chariot moving into Uruz, which is really helping with that piece from moving from the flow of energy, the Feiyu flow of energy, into formation, into creating formation. It's a good time for taking oaths. Uruz is a really good witness rune for us. The full moon is also a great witnessing moment where we can take our oaths, and Odin's Chariot is also moving into Uruz as well on the 16th. So we've got a lot of supportive energy for us to allow thought to become action. And it doesn't mean, I have to do everything. It means do something. Do something to bring that forward over time. Now, if you haven't got a sense of a vision, the first thing I would say is that for me, I find that the pursuit of vision is a long-term process for me. It's not something that for some people, they wake up I don't know, when they're really, really young and they go, this is what my life is about. That happens for some people. It is a very small proportion of people. I also think that sometimes we can achieve, we could have created an intention, maybe before we were born, about something that we wanted to contribute or something that we wanted to achieve in our lives. And if we achieve it, that's not the end. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to sit back now and listen to the joy. Maybe that was your purpose, in which case go ahead. But it might be that something else unveils itself to you. So it's a pursuit, a gentle, playful, wooing pursuit of our destiny. is another way that you could look at it. You could say that there's the vision out there in the future, and you might argue, I choose it. I choose to pursue this vision, and therefore my destiny is formed by that journey that I then take towards it. Or it's chosen me in some way, and I know it. I just know it in my soul that it's chosen me, and my destiny is formed by pursuing it. That's how we move forward in terms of pursuing our destiny. So one of the ways that I support people in doing that is through North Star sessions. So if you go to www.meganrose.com and you look at one-to-one, you'll see that you can book a North Star session, and we can use those for any purposes. But one of the ways in which quite a lot of my clients work is they come and they say, I really want to feel into that. Why am I here? What is my purpose? And we start to pull on that thread and see what comes. So that's a possibility for you if you're not quite there with, what is my vision? What's rather, maybe you might look at it as being, perhaps there is a quite immense, shared vision out there that the gods are cherishing and that we are cherishing, and that each of us is born destined to contribute a particular piece to that vision. So let's have a look at our planetary movement. So as I said, we've got Frigg's chariot is moving into Dargaz. So Frigg, we know that she is a seeress, and she is known for for silence. And what she is talking to us about is she's saying that doing is often more powerful than telling. So if you feel as if, I want to, let's say, really committed to environmental causes, yes, you can stand and you can say to people, this is really important, but you can also look at what are the actions that I can take that not only, make a contribution, but also show people, they demonstrate to people, what I can do. It's why, when somebody writes a blog article, there's a difference between someone writing, I think that you should be, recycling, and you should be making your own cleaning products, and you should be going and buying second hand and all of that, and somebody who says, well, this is my recipe for the cleaning product that I've made that I really, really like, and it smells really nice, and it's good for the environment, I'm really pleased with it, and I'm using a glass bottle, not a plastic bottle, and they become enthused by it and inspired by it, and they talk about what they're doing. So much more inspiring for us than somebody saying, you should do that, So it's that sort of thing that Frigg is talking about. Do more than tell, and also know when the journey is yours. There are times when somebody might come and say, I really need help with this, or they come and they share something, and you think, I could tell them about how I did that. This is what I would do. You say, this is what I would do. And sometimes that's not the most helpful thing that we can do. Sometimes we can say, so what are you thinking about here? And be curious about it and recognize that they are sharing their journey with you, not necessarily with the same destination that you went to being their outcome, the outcome that they want. And so that sense of sometimes stepping back and saying, I'm not going to tell again, it's a different form of doing. It's an opening and a curiosity and a helping through helping the other person to connect with what they may already know inside deeply, and sometimes recognizing that their greatest teacher will be both the successes and failures along the pathway, rather than you saying, this is the way you should do it. There's other forms of learning. So Frigg is really inviting us to connect in with our third eye, use our intuition to know when to speak, when to be silent, when to do, when to bring curiosity and ask, and occasionally when to tell. And then we have on the 13th, we have our full moon coming into Iwaz. The full moon is a beautiful time. It's always a great time for setting intentions. It's like Mani, the great god of the moon, he loves humanity. He loves watching over the world. And at the full moon, he's in his greatest, most fullest power. And we can stand beneath the full moon with our drinking horns raised, and we can toast to what we have achieved through the past month, and he will celebrate with us, and we can set intentions for the future, and he will witness them and provide a powerful witnessing for us in that. It's a wonderful time for doing symbol rites, for those of you who've done the symbol with me before. And with this full moon in Iwaz, the rune of defense, longevity, that sense of the eternal within the ever-changing, It comes through with Aiwass, that strength. It's the staff, it's the tree. It's deeply rooted and reaching up into the heavens. It is saying, stand in your fullness and be received by the universe. Let the web of weird open to support you. And this comes back to what I was talking about, that sense of maybe sometimes we're just like, yes, I need to do this, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, and we are moving through, we're like the arrow charging forward, I know what needs to be done. And sometimes we are calling on that strength, and we're saying, I know inside what needs to be done. And for this moment, in this moment of the full moon, simply going to stand and be present and know that all will be well. All will be well, and all will be well, and all will be well again. Feeling those roots going down into the earth, and feeling those branches going up into the heavens, and knowing from that place that you will be supported. It's one of the pieces that, again, in my coaching work I teach people, is that accessing that inner knowing. You might call it that magical self. Some people think of it as the higher self. Some think about it as your sort of magical identity, that part of you that is always connected. And on the full moon with the Aiwass rune, doing that is also setting an intention of saying, as I move forward through the course of this year, if you think about Feiyu as perhaps being like a new year, and we've just started out, we're like 2 weeks in, it's that intention of saying, I know that I'm supported, I know that I'm connected, and I know that when I'm flowing with my purpose, then all will be well, and it's meant to be. There's a faith that comes in that actually empowers us to move forward, and perhaps to take some little mini risks and personal risks that we would find a little bit harder otherwise if we thought we were doing it all alone. So that full moon is there to support us with that. And then on the 15th, soon as Chariot, the sun, moves into Uruz, the rune of the Aurochs, the rune of strength. There's a willpower behind it. There's the mighty force of nature, given form. It's like these two forces, Feiyu, that flowing life force energy, Uruz, that formative, I can't think of a better word for formative, let's say force and form. They come together and reality is created from them. And so soon as Chariot and Uruz starts to bring us the foundations, and it invites us not just to, with that Aiwass full moon, it's really continues that energy of the Aiwass full moon, that sort of strength, solidity, stability, that sense of being supported and held, and knowing that when we are working with the earth, with the raw forces of nature, we can't go far wrong. If we're working not with them, we can go pretty far wrong. Is one of the things that it talks about, and it talks about as well the idea of integrity. We think about personal integrity, and we talk about, I'm standing in my truth, I'm saying what is right, and doing what is right. It reminds me that if you think about integrity, holds within it this idea of wholeness, of always pursuing wholeness in the moment. That there's, if you think about it with the moon as well, with the full moon, when the full moon is there, it's in a phase of wholeness. Then it goes through you might think of it as a breaking or a wounding or a releasing or a letting go. It's also part of the natural way. Something new comes in and it starts to evolve and change and grow, and then it comes back into wholeness again. If you think about that, we are doing that all the time, and Uru supports us in moving back into wholeness. Feiyu supports that growth phase, Uru's wholeness, and then we have Thurisaz, which is one of the first sort of breaking, disrupting. What's another word I'm looking for? There's like a piercing and a wounding as well. So Thurisaz starts to bring that in. So you can see that just in that first primal pattern, it starts to bring that through. And so Uruz is reminding us that sense of, there is nothing to fix, there is nothing to change in this moment. All will be well comes to mind once more. And then on the 16th, Odin's chariot moves into Uruz, and he is talking about integrity, being in integrity as the path towards wholeness. And what he would invite you to do is to consider, when we think about Uruz, when we do the symbol right, one of the things that we're doing is a taboo breaking. We're saying, in our society, certainly in England, where I am from, talking about oneself, I'm brilliant, is not considered polite. No, it's egotistical. Oh, pride comes before a fall. All of those things. You're going to set yourself up for failure if you tell other people how brilliant you are. Setting yourself up for failure, and there's this sense of, I know in the German they talk like Schadenfreude, don't they? That sense of, sort of laughing at somebody else a little bit. It brings that in. And, gentle humour at each other is no bad thing, but the fear of not claiming your truth, of not claiming, yeah, I'm actually really good at this. I'm really good at this. And by the way, I'm not really good at that. That stops us from moving forward. It stops us evolving as a society, because if we imagine a group of people who are in a survival situation, ancestors for whatever reason, they're being attacked, or something bad is happening, and if they all sit there going, well, I'm not particularly good with the spear, so don't, even though I know I am really, but I'm not going to say it, but no, I'm not very good with the spear, and I'm really fast, so I could run and get help, but I don't want to tell anyone that because that'd be really bad. Can you imagine if they knew that I was really good at this thing? And so you end up sort of going, here are some tasks that we need to do. So we need to be able to defend ourselves, and perhaps we need somebody sort of whatever it is that's going to do. We need to build a fire. We need to sort of get to high ground. Learn all of these things. Oh, I'm really good at navigating. Don't tell anyone I'm really good at navigating. Oh my God, all comes through. It makes it so difficult for us to get stuff done, because we're so busy hiding from people the things that we're good at, and we end up doing the things that we're not good at, and that's certainly part of society. At this point, that we have jobs where we sort of go into a job and they say you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to do this, and you spend all of your time, in fact schooling as well, I'm not talking about jobs, schooling, all of your time focused on the things that you're not good at, because those are the things that, well, you're not good at that, you need to practice that, whereas that one, you've reached the bar, so that's okay. We get to the end of it and we don't know what we're good at anymore. We know what we're really good at working hard at, which is not the same. And so Odin says, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Part of being in integrity is knowing what you are good at, and it might take some time to work that out, because of the fact that we are encouraged to focus on all the things that we are not good at and get them right at the expense of the stuff that we're really good at. It's one of the sort of tragedies, I think, and maybe of the modern education system, is that there is very little time in our educational establishments to foster brilliance and excellence, and to recognise that everyone, I believe, everyone has something that they are brilliant and excellent at, the gift that they were meant to bring into the world. So Odin says, enough of that. So again, use that Iwaz energy, use that full moon energy. If you can just do a list of yourself, if these are the things I'm really, really, really good at, and if you can't say it in front of anybody else, say it to the moon, says Odin. And then we have Tyr's chariot, last one I promise. Tyr's chariot in Largus, so the rune of water. So Tyr, the equivalent planet in the planet is Mars. So it's this very active force, the red planet, the sort of spear flying through the air, the warrior with the shield, the king ready to sacrifice for his cause. So there's an action in there. And Largus comes in, it's also a rune of action, but it's flowing, moving, state to state, shifting to shifting, very open, boundless. And these two energies can clash a little bit if not handled well. And what Tyr is bringing, when I was running, had a chat with him about, what's happening here, what does this mean? Because I was a bit like, there was a bit of edge, teeth on edge bit. Was he was saying, hold on a second, my neighbours have got their paddling pool out and they've been very loud. 1 minute. You might not have been able to hear that, but I certainly could. Paddling pools, the water, wasn't it? The disruption of a child screaming in the water. Something is not to my liking. Might be, Tyr in the water, going, my armour is not suited to swimming here. What he talks about is the water of Largus being inspiration that we draw from the past. And all that I've just said about, standing in your power, recognising your talent, doing all of those things, what we can sometimes then come up against, hits us, one of those get back in your box moments, is, but look at the heroes of the past. look at the soul workers, look at the healers, look at the artists, look at the poets, what they achieved. And instead of looking at them and saying, they are my inspirations and I'm working towards that goal, we go, oh, I can't do that. And we lose our confidence through the illusion of the past, because what Tyr does is he says to us, all of these people, all of these deeds, all of these heroes were people, they were humans. We get a story, this is a story world, and Tyr talks quite a lot to me about the story world, which he sees as being like Odin's, powerful story world that through which we weave our society and our understanding of reality, and we create meaning. He doesn't say it's a bad thing, but he's a bit suspicious of it. He's like, it's never the truth. He says, it's a truth that if it empowers us is great, but if it disempowers us and makes us feel like, all of the good things have been done in the world, I can never achieve the same heights of greatness, as King Arthur or, Beowulf, or any of the poets, or even your own heroes in the present day that you look at and you say, I could never do that, not for me, I could never do that. And I speak to so many people who say, I could never do that. And you'll notice that when they speak, they say, and I could never do that. And they either say it with I could never do that because I feel less than you, or they say it in I could never do that because somehow you're being a bit too big for your boots and that you did that, or you're, maybe being a bit selfish or you did something like that. It's like a sword, a double-edged sword, either way, of you're either too big or you're too small, So Tyr is saying, look at the waters for inspiration, but never define yourself by them. Never look to compare yourself. Look for your own light. So there is a illusion that he talks about that it's important for us to be cognizant of. So that's just something to be wary of through this period of time as we're working on stepping into more integrity, standing for our truth, proclaiming ourselves and our right to be here in the world, to be witnessed, to be in integrity. All of these things are there's the possibility of moving into illusion and suddenly feeling not good enough in that moment. So I think actually there was only one other thing that I wanted to say, which is I'm really pleased. It's taken a huge amount of work over the years to have been able to launch, which we launched in the half month of Faye, but we did it as a soft launch just to check that everything was going okay. We now have our sun rune packages available, so that if you know what your sun rune is, or you know somebody who is interested in the Northern European work, and they're like, well, where do I start? We've now created our 24 sun rune packages that you can now purchase online. So it's been for a while that if you get your birth runes report, you get your sun rune package with it, but or that you could contact us and we would calculate your sun rune and we would create your package for you. But now we have them all ready to go. So if it is your birthday coming up this half month, or any half month in fact, because they are all there, or you know a friend and you think, oh, that'll be a nice present, or I could point them in that direction, please do. I'll share the link for those. And just so you are aware, the sun rune packages are a PDF about the sun rune, and then they are the awakening module. So for those of you who are doing awaken to the runes, you will have the core content of your sun rune package already. It's just that you'll need to wait for it until we are in the half month if you're doing awaken. Obviously if you've done it before, you've got access to all of those, and so that's available for you, a nice juicy new package that we've put into creation for you. So let's have a look at what we have got. Lots of people have shared their runes. Morning Elaine, lovely to see you. Esther, good morning Maggie and everyone. My rune for the week is Kinaz. So this, if we think about that doing, we were talking about actions that you could take. For me, this is about mobilizing your creatrix energy. There might be actually some working with the hands or some visualization, drawing, and really feeling into, again, it's very energetic. It's not always about saying my vision is such and such and therefore I will create. No, I can't think of anything. I am a gatekeeper and therefore I will create doorknobs. No, that's a stupid example, obviously. So I apologise, but you get my drift. It doesn't have to be something purely practical. It might be that it's saying use your creatrix in order to feel into those intentions and that visioning of what you want for the future, and then create something that holds the energy for you would be a good way of honouring that. So just making sure that you are expressing the Kinaz power, because otherwise at this point it can end up getting stuck in our system. We talked about this quite a lot with Kinaz. You know, it's a great rune for transformation, but its energy needs to go somewhere, or it will make it go somewhere itself. And Kinaz is that balance rune of saying, okay, energy in. You know, like you can do in reading, enlightenment, all of that sort of thing with the Kinaz rune, the torch. But then we need to bring it out again into the world and express it. So it's finding some form of sort of artistic or creative expression, which could be cooking, drawing, writing, any form of creative action will work for Kinaz. Trish, you've got Iwas, so I would point you in the direction of the Iwas full moon. Certainly, I think there is a real recognition of your strength. Maybe even less recognized than it should be. It's that sense of, you know, really recognizing. I'm seeing you with almost like with a staff walking along, but I'm also seeing roots coming out of your feet. That sense of eldership, of being almost like a shepherd for others as well, comes through, Trish. And it's honouring that within you, honouring that as a talent, you know, part of who you are and what you offer in the world. And almost feeling into, when we see the full moon and we imagine Yggdrasil, the great world tree, and its great roots going down and its branches going up, and it's almost then feeling that power within us as well, and saying, you know, this isn't about me blowing my own trumpet, look at me and my Iwasi power. It's recognizing that if you are somebody who is able to act as a conduit for that power, doing that work allows other people to feel into their own roots and to become shepherds and elders in the longer term. And a lot of that, I think, is quite maybe something for everyone here, is recognizing that while we all come, you know, as a unique package of talents and gifts and experiences, all of us have the ability to access all of the runes within us and draw forth a particular expression of that power. So sometimes by resonating in your own energy more strongly and more powerfully, and get rid of all that conditioning, all of that stuff that gets in the way, we are helping other people to do the same, to step into integrity, to step into wholeness out of what you might think of as being a sort of hollowness or a shadowness, or too much in the story world that I was talking about, Odin's story world, or too much in the Lagu's waters of looking at what other people do and comparing ourselves. So yes, I think that's a message for everybody, but it's that sense of really feeling the power of Iwas within you, in the spine, strength of your body, and recognizing that you possess it, you know, you own it. Hi Patricia Ann, we've got Algis for you. So again, maybe this will become a little bit of a theme for the reading. I can feel it starting to move through a little bit, that the runes are talking about those gifts inside us that we either need to deepen our connections to or allow it to express outwards a little bit more. That Algis rune, I'm seeing the swan, you know, not just this one, there's another bird there. What is it? I'm not sure what it is. It's like I think it's actually the, you know, people who do like augury, you know, with divination, with like birds, and it's a very lost ancient art forms, Patricia, and it's sort of it's quite specifically talking about opening to a sense of you seeing those messages out in the world, you know, wherever they are, whatever they are. Oh, you know, it's not even a pack of starlings, is it? It's whatever it is, or, you know, a group of crows, and just pausing for a moment to feel into what does that mean. And we know, you know, we've still got those, you know, they're like magpies. When people see a magpie and they say one for sorrow, two for joy, we've got these old rhymes that give us a little bit of an insight into what our ancestors were looking at when they did that. But we've lost so much of that art of seership through connection with nature. is what I'm looking at. So I'm thinking it's like going out into nature, opening to that, and actually looking for those signs. You know, what animals do I see? What plants are present? Do I see any runes in the trees, in the shapes of the trees? And opening the psychic centres that way, Trish, and sort of recognising that there is, I think, a natural affinity that you have for connecting in that way. Seeing so much deeper into the natural world than just going, oh, well, that's an oak. No, it's really connecting in with the way in which the environment presents to us wisdom when we know how to look for it. And I wonder, Patricia, whether that's something that you are already doing, certainly something it seems that you might have an innate talent for. Chen, you have got eyewares today. So we've done eyewares with Trish. We've talked about eyewares quite a lot of the time. I'm thinking the full moon will be particularly helpful for you. And there is a strength and a tenacity that is coming through there, which again is about honouring that within you, speaking that out loud, recognising when you provide strength to others, and looking for what is it in you, what is it you have access to that allows you to do that. You know, because it's not, people just think, oh yeah, you know, that's a very supportive person, or that's a person who like takes their responsibilities seriously. But there is a strength and an ability to access energy and to motivate yourself to do that comes through. So it's almost looking for where is the source of your strength, and that's something that's important for you to know moving forward. It's looking for that source of strength. Erica, she says, hi Maggie and Hearth Spaces. Oh, thank you, Erica. You've got Thurisaz for the week. So we talked a little bit about Thurisaz with the that breaking or wounding that breaks us apart so that we can evolve once more, coming through. And I think again there, it's almost a recognition of how do you embody that Thurisaz power, that ability to stand beside somebody else, and either be with them while they're experiencing that breaking or that wounding, or to help them to sort of peel some of that off, almost like a seed cracking open. You know, sort of seed cracks and then the plant comes out, but it does require that cracking open, and that sometimes your work will require you to embody that energy as well. And I'm actually seeing the Thurisaz ring with its 3 sides, and perhaps looking at that and going, well, how are the different ways that I might work with that energy in my life and in my work, so that sometimes I'm there with somebody while they're experiencing that. Sometimes I am facilitating that breaking myself, and sometimes I am allowing myself fully to be in that energy, and through doing that and then through sharing that experience, I help others to feel that that's okay. You know, particularly in a society where, you know, perfection and image and, you know, I'm doing okay, look at me, you know, I'm a success, you're not. No, it's so strong. It's almost saying, in being able to embody the wise journeying self in a way that is vulnerable and that recognises that we all go through those moments. So perhaps looking at those 3 sides and celebrating and claiming that for yourself, Erica. Morning, Brenda. Suzanne, good morning. You have got Perthro, and Troy has got Thurisaz. So let's go into Perthro and we'll see if there's anything additional for Troy with the Thurisaz energy. So Perthro is a slight, it complements but is distinct from Dargaz. So Dargaz, that sense of the vision that we step into, and it's like, you know, claiming the vision. Perthro is less prone to wanting to be defined, you know, just sort of saying, you know, that we don't pursue Perthro in the same way as, you know, I was talking about Dargaz and that sense of like purpose or vision that we can then pursue and we keep moving towards it. Perthro is almost a force that happens behind us, and we allow it to move us forward, and we move with it, and we feel it much more viscerally in our bodies rather than having the vision there. So I think that Perthro is just sort of saying that might be your way in. It's more embodied, more instinctive, more intuitive, less I'm now going to write a list of the things that I'm going to do. Not that I was suggesting that people write lots of lists, but it is it's a slightly different energy. And the reason that I say that is because I do think that Perthro links with Aiwaz and Urus and Lagus as well. So it's almost like it's come and said, in working with these runes, moderate them with the Perthro energy. So you've got the Aiwaz energy of the tree, but then you've got the well beneath. So when you're doing those meditations, it's also allowing that Perthro energy, that water energy, to flow through you as you do that. There's a healing, I think, that's coming through as well with Perthro from there, and enlivening and sort of rejuvenating. It's the evolving force, again, that we were talking about, but it almost encapsulates that whole cycle. A lot of the later runes do that. They sort of encapsulate that whole cycle of growth, integrity and wholeness, and breaking and evolution. And Perthro is saying, it's that synergy of all of them that's important. Urus, now I often think about that as being like the moon and water, and it's a softening of the Urus energy with Perthro, and perhaps a deepening and a going underneath a bit further, a bit deeper. There's something else in there I'm struggling to pick up on. There's a freedom, I think. There's a freedom with Perthro, which sometimes we can get stuck in with Urus, because even the natural world has its own rules, its own way of being. This is what this tree means, or this is what that means. I think it's possibly for you about claiming that alchemist energy, that ability to weave lots in, and it's sort of saying in Perthro, it's not haphazard. No, it is a deep understanding of the flow of weird that comes through when you're able to do that, so that sometimes even the laws of Urus themselves can be broken, which then brings in that Lagus energy. And it might suggest that with the Tears, Chariot and Lagus from the 16th is claiming your own tribe, claiming that tribe of alchemist, eclectic practitioners, and perhaps recognizing that the more ancient versions of those would have been perhaps manifestors, like bringing something new into the world that hadn't come forward, but that now, because we have so much in the world, there is an integration and a synthesis that needs to happen through eclectic practice. Rather than bringing something new from the deeps, you're now weaving stuff together. I hope that makes sense. Slightly intangible there at the end, but I hope you catch my drift there, Suzanne. And then Troy, you had Thurisaz. So just picking up on what I said with Erica, there is again a claiming of Thurisaz power and a recognition that each of the wounds that we carry has the potential to strengthen us in the long run. Not guaranteed, but if we work with them and move through them and breathe into them and own them as our own as well, rather than seeing them as something that has happened from the outside world. It's almost that process of going back to the idea of the plant or the seed, taking in whatever it needs from its roots, and that starts as matter that is external, but then it becomes transmuted into the body of the plant, in ways that the original substance didn't necessarily intend, but that's what happens. So our ability to work with our woundings and our experiences correlates to our ability to synthesize them and transform them into something that is ours, so that we're not carrying energy inside us that's not ours. It's the difference of saying, this wound in me that was created by this experience, and I'm carrying it with me and it feels like a weight, and releasing that and then integrating it and turning it into something that is part of you as well, but not connected to the original substance. It's like a tree is no longer I suppose it's a combination of many minerals and elements and nitrogen and whatever else it has sucked up through its roots, but it's more than that. It's something different and unique, just as we are. As we walk around, we're not just a big collection of food and oxygen and water. We're something different. So it's saying that I can become something different. Let me see, what else have we got? So then Felicity, we've got Isa. I thought Isa might come up today. I was feeling that a little bit, partially with where was I feeling that? A little bit around the integrity piece that we were talking about, the stepping into integrity was coming through quite strongly, that stillness as well. So again, I'm thinking that this might be a modifier to what we've been discussing, that sense that the dark hours energy can be a light that shines through us, and we don't necessarily have to move towards it. We can just embrace it and allow it to flow through us. With the Iwaz rune, we don't always have to be pushing. I don't need to push my roots down. I don't need to push my branches up. I can just be and know that what is coming will come. With the Uru's rune, it's like I don't always need to flow. I don't always need to move. I don't always need to push with my Aurochs power. I can stand still and stable and recognize the strength within that. And with the Largus rune, Isa becomes a bridge across the Largus rune so that you can cross over. I think with the Largus rune, the only thing that's is worth bearing in mind is there is a difference between the Isa rune that acts as a bridge across the water and the Isa rune that stops the power of the water from flowing. And I don't think that's something for now. I think that's just something to look forward, moving forward. It's almost like a claiming of that stillness and that ice power, and there's just the beauty within that is you already, and that you don't need to do anything else on. But then recognizing that just as we have the stepping into wholeness and integrity, which the Isa rune encapsulates beautifully, we then need to let go of that and to move into the next phase. So it feels like the Largus rune is whispering to me a bit there and saying, don't stay in that stillness for too long. That's why we need these moments with the full moon in Iwaz of sort of proclamation saying, this is where I am right now. And then we can release and we can move on and evolve again. So, Isa, for you there. Lisa, you've got Ewaz, so we've got partnership, we've got some speed coming through there. So, I'm hearing the Aurochs, the sort of the thrumming of the hooves of the Aurochs, but it's quite fast. And there is that determination that's coming through there. There's almost a sense for me of you already knowing what needs to happen, and then using the speed and the power of the Ewaz rune to harness that, the Iwaz energy, the staff. I can move forward to move into the Dargaz rune. And the partnership that's coming here is very much about saying you can move forward on your own and you will be good. You can move forward and you can say, I need this, and I need this, and I need this, and you'll be great. We've talked about this a little bit before. I think with Ewaz has come up recently, this almost this sense of which sometimes the speed at which we want to move can mean that we don't stop to take the time to go, who could help me, or who's available, or what support can I bring in right now. And it's saying actually just spending some time each day saying, what support do I need, and can I get it? And if I can't get it, really paying attention to that and looking maybe to build up a bigger picture, to perhaps to do it like for a week or a little bit longer, and say, okay, what are the things that are holding me back because the support that I want isn't easily and readily accessible. And then that becomes something for the future to say, okay, if all of those things from the last month if I had been supported in them, imagine what I could have achieved. So Ewaz is sort of saying, continue to move forward, but don't lose the wisdom of the moment of being able to say, I was able to get support with this and with this, but I wasn't with that. So, record that in some way, and it will allow you to move faster in the longer term. Diane, you've got Perthra as well. So there's a bit there for Suzanne that I had with Suzanne around it acting as a little bit of a mediator, saying go with the flow a little bit. Don't worry, don't be like, I've got to find my vision right now, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. The fact that it's facing left for you, there's a quietness. I don't know why, but Cinderella came into my mind like straight away, went bam, and I'm like, what does that mean? There is a quietness of Cinderella in her hearth. I think there's a sense there of maybe a little bit of impatience, a little bit of No, this isn't Cinderella, the one going, oh, it's me. No, 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 no. This is Cinderella, more like the modern film where she's just like, I want to make her an amazing dress shop, and I'm really annoyed with all these people, and it's more of that kind of feisty Cinderella, let's say. And it's not happening quite as quickly as she would want to, and so it's that turning of the Perthro rune and recognizing that needs to happen, and that the Perthro rune is almost the fairy godmother in that sense. It's almost saying, help and support will come, but it will come in its own time, and I know that's really annoying, is what's coming through there for me. So in the meantime, you can do the work of connecting with the vision and feeling, what is any frustration telling you about what you want, what it is that you want to achieve, what it is that you want to be present in your life. And again, all of the things we've been talking about, recording it, writing it down, going back to Esther's point about visualizing it, creating it, do that knowing that what you are doing is tipping the Perthro rune to open yourself to the support from the universe coming. And then when it comes, that's the time to take action. So it's turning your frustration into wisdom, essentially. Not that I'm suggesting you have lots of frustration, but what is coming through. Let me see. Marie, you have Hagalaz. Lovely to see Marie. So there's we've been talking about that cycle, haven't we? And Hagalaz is one of the more, the disruptor runes. I think that there's almost a claiming of the path that Hagalaz has taken you on, and looking for those moments when you felt like, this is too much for me, I'm feeling a little bit broken right now, no, I'm not okay, why is this so hard, all of the things we've talked about, everyone else seems to be doing it better, all of those things. It's taking stock of that and saying, where am I now? How has that changed? And how can I use that to sort of almost wrap around me like a cloak, to become my staff that I walk with, to recognise that you journeyed forward even with all of those Hagalaz disruptor energies coming through. And that when you are able to do that, that experience becomes like the Hagalaz seed itself, that is then acting as your, I want to say, vehicle almost. It's like the hard surfaces, the crystalline surfaces of Hagalaz then start to wrap around you so that you can become the seed, moving forward into the future. So it's a claiming of the experiences and a recognition of when Hagalaz has been present. When you felt a little bit, inadequate, or why is life doing this? Why is this being thrown at me? And saying, but I survived. And not only did I survive, I've done this and this and this. So using that Iwas full moon to do that and to recognise the Hagalaz energy. Pamela, you've got Gibo, the rune of the gift, the rune of promises and gifting and exchange. It's quite different there for you, Pamela. I'm just sort of shifting a bit of the older energies that I've had. Feel as if with Gibo can become a rune that amasses a lot of complexity around it, around what a fair society should look like, or what a fair outcome to a particular situation might have been, or what are the gifts that you have wanted and appreciated, or what are the gifts that you've given to others. And it can become a bit tangled in our minds, for all of us. We were talking about Odin and the story, the collective story, and Gibo is one of the foundation stones of the collective story. When we give gifts to others and we create a relationship or a bond, when we make promises and whether they are kept or not, when we feel an implied promise, whether it's kept or not, all of those things become like this web of meaning all around us, which is not always a bad thing, but sometimes it can become a bit cobwebby, and we need to do a bit of a clearing out. So there's almost energetically for me that sense of imagining this sort of cobweb of old promises, old gifts, old things, maybe doing a little bit of releasing around that. If you even just symbolically looking at like things that you own, that you're like, somebody gave that to me, do I really like it? Maybe somebody else would love it more. I can give it to a charity shop. It's a symbolic release. So I'm ready to release those things that are, it's not even that you don't necessarily need them anymore, it's just that they make the energy around you very dense and difficult to move through. And then what I suggest is a feeling back into that child self and what was important to that child self. For some it is that, what felt like a gift to you, what felt special, what felt made you feel cherished, what made you feel loved, and allowing that Gibo energy to light you up so that that energy starts to draw in the promises and the gifts that you actually want in the world, and not the old stories that might have accrued around you. So give that a little bit of a try and see what comes with your Gibo rune there. Elaine. Sorry, the chat keeps moving back up when I'm doing the reading, so I have to scroll back down to find where I was. Elaine, you have Rado. So this is very much a rune of rhythm, and it is a journey, but it's not always a physical journey. It can be, but it isn't always a physical journey. There is a sense of connection with the Rado rune, of the road that the past has taken leading towards the future. And I think what the Rado rune is asking perhaps for a distinction between the map that you're holding in front of you. This is where I've come from, and this is the destination that I was going towards, and this is the map that tells me the way, possibly the map that other people have written for me that tells me the way. And this is my compass, telling me that sometimes I might want to do a detour, and I'm okay with that because I'll still know the way forward again, because it's in me. That journey isn't something that is happening to me, it is something inside. And it is all right to sometimes step off the road, to take a pause from the humdrum of everyday life, to decide, deliberately and intentionally to take a detour. And even if it's not on the map, because it's saying it doesn't matter, because I know that I have all the resources that I need inside me to step back into the towards my destination, and that having taken that detour, I might arrive at the destination more prepared for it, or I might arrive more joyful. That it isn't, that the destination isn't something that, again, that's external to you. You might get to your destination long before the map tells you that you should have. So there is a sense for me of almost, sometimes when we take a detour, we realise that we are much further on in our own solar evolution than we think that we are. So the Rado, counterintuitively, is sort of saying take a pause, because normally it's the journey, but it's almost saying reconnect with what the journey's all about and how far you have come, and is this the direction that you really want to go in, and trust. So taking that pause becomes part of the rhythm of your journeying self. Similar to, we talked about the lunar cycle. It's that sense that sometimes when we pause and we move away from the beaten track, then we're able to see it anew, to see new possibilities as well. I think Rado is almost suggesting, perhaps there will be some new possibilities, or some new insights, or some new realizations that will come through when you connect with that Rado energy. And Sally Ann, you have to drive off now. Well, listen, that's absolutely fine. So Algiz, found him on a walk this morning. Well, isn't that fun? Because we were talking about looking for runes out in nature for the Algiz rune when we did that reading, and then you said that you actually found him this morning and he was there on Friday. You nearly stepped on him, so it wants me to be aware of him. Yeah, and I wonder whether there's almost a merging there of the Rado and the Algiz that we had earlier, of really saying that pause time is important. That pause time is important because it's not just about rest, it's also about connection. It's about connecting to insight, connecting to your wisdom. And so again, we talked with Erica about looking at the Thurisaz rune and imagining these different facets. Do the same with the Algos rune. When you think about when you go for a walk, or you go for whatever it is that you do to unwind, you might say, or to reconnect. Look at all of the different ways that brings you power. Whether it brings you wisdom, whether it fills your lungs with oxygen, whether it gets the muscles in your legs working, whether it opens you to possibilities. It gets you into a state of mind where, because you're able to look for those opportunities out in nature all around you, you can then also see them when they're offered in life. All sorts of ways in which a morning walk, where you are deliberately allowing yourself to be present in the moment and to take it all in, can help you in a much broader way in your life. And it's almost like doing that is presencing you to all of those different opportunities that one walk has that's available to you. So I'm going to leave you with that, Sally Ann, and see where that takes you. So Chen says thank you. So does Esther. Trish says thank you. Erica, embodying the wisdom of the wound and holding space for others. What valuable Thurisaz advice. We do love Thurisaz. Marie says, I love that. Walk forth in my cloak and staff. Good. Patricia says, thank you. I'm battling lots of dark energy now. I'm sorry, Pamela. You're saying thank you as well, so I hope that was helpful for you. It looks like we've come to the end. I hope I've not... Oh, wait, Michelle. I almost missed you, Michelle. So you've got Largus. So we talked about... And we talked about Largus actually with Felicity, didn't we? But it was in the context of her Issa rune. So your Largus energy is... There's a... Sorry, I'm just trying to move into it again. I don't know if people might have noticed I'm a bit of a kinesthetic reader, so I have to move sometimes to get out of it. And Largus energy, Largus is my sun rune. So it comes over, it sort of like washes. You know what's coming? Is I've been thinking about people, I work a lot with people who are highly sensitive, who they would self-characterise as being highly sensitive. And we talk about overwhelm, as if somehow, it's your fault, is the sense that I was getting. If you're a bit stronger, you wouldn't get overwhelmed, or, it's all too much. And I'm thinking about it more as flooding. Now is the way that I'm thinking about it. Just for a moment there, my senses were flooded a bit. And I just needed to move myself out of that to find higher ground again, so that I could see, what's going on around me, to sort of find that higher ground and look out over the waters and see what direction I wanted my ship to go in. And I'm wondering whether maybe, Michelle, that's something to look at and to play with. I don't know whether you would think of yourself as being a highly sensitive person, but I know there's a high proportion of this community more sensitive to the environment, to busyness all around you, to stuff going on everywhere, to toxins in the environment, to things that are maybe a little bit wrong with our environment that we could all benefit from being changed with. For highly sensitive people, they're like the little canaries in the coal mine saying, hold on, there's too much happening. And to go, okay, if I thought about this as simply a moment where I'm bringing presence to the fact that I'm feeling a bit flooded now, that the energy's feeling a little bit too strong for me to catch hold of any one specific thing, and then how do I move into higher ground to allow myself to get that bigger perspective again, not thinking the way to do this is to immediately start to do a list of everything that I can see, or immediately tidy the environment, or immediately exit from the environment. Exiting might be a strategy, but that sometimes it's energetically allowing yourself to rise up a little bit and breathe, and then go, what's the one piece of information here that I need in order to move forward, and to go from being the canary in the coal mine that's going, this is good, to the canary in the coal mine who's able to say, this needs to change, or this is what's present to me right now, in amongst the flood of everything else. So I hope that is helpful for you. That's just what came through to me, was that sense of the Largus rune itself it can bring purity and cleansing when we work with it. We can work with, I work with the shower every morning. Imagine all of the stuff, draining away. But it can also bring all of that stuff through your system, and it's about sort of allowing that to happen and not trying to shut off from it, because then we shut down our ability to work with it. So I leave you with that, Michelle, to see whether that's helpful for you. Felicity said, lots to think about. Melanie says, thank you so much. So now I believe that we are done. Lovely to see you all. Remember, the Sunrune packages are now available. You can always email talk@meganrose.com if you cannot find them, but I'll put a link as well in here for Hearthspace. And just to note that next week I'm going to be covering the planetary movements for 2 weeks, because I'm going on holiday after that. So there won't be a Middle-earth readings in 2 weeks' time, but I will have covered the planetary movements for both weeks. Luckily there's only one next week, so we'll be able to do that without it being quite too much. Lovely to see you all. See you all again very soon.